We begin with the closing ceremonies for the 30th anniversary of Bumbershoot. The hottest burn of all was more than mere fun. Fun for everyone is written along the optimistic thumb on the poster for Festival 71. Through 30 years, more than 4.5 million participant visitors. The Seattle Art Festival has been fun, of course, but also and often more than mere fun. Take, for instance, the ritual incineration of the great egg-laying Bovinosaurus, the penultimate burn, the burn of 1999. This rite of fire was created by perennial bumper alchemist Claire Colquitt. Colquitt hid in the great egg, below his Bovinosaurus, a demon, ready to spring to life by fire. And then, thank goodness, collapse into the fire as well. Here, bumper chronicler and burn director Stanley Larson shares something with Claire Colquitt that is more than mere fun. And all accompanied by bumper composer Norman Dierke's Wagnerian techno-tone poem and the parading pipes and drums and dancing bellies of bumper drum. Years before any ritual bumper burn, Northwest filmmaker John Nonamaker captured one day in the sky over Seattle Center, and what a day! With the boiling clouds and the sunlight flashing across the center, the curved roof of its Coliseum. This energetic sky is a sign for the 30 vigorous bumper shoots held beneath it, and also a slate on which to write our title, BumberChronicles. Festival 71 had no umbrella. BumberChronicles, however, has its own bumper shoot with a printed program. What follows: comedy, circus, classical music, buskers, drums, bumper this, bumper that, literary arts, and origins. Origins. The BumberChronicles are older than Bumbershoot. They begin with the Northwest Filmmakers Co-op and its members' intent to record the many multi-day outdoor festivals held in the Northwest corner during the late 1960s. The first was the first Sky River Festival in 1968. If Sky River helped precipitate Bumbershoot, and it did, then the Seattle Center predisposed it.
You haven't seen anything yet.
Improved for the 1962 World's Fair, the center was already floundering before the Boeing slump of 1970 flattened the city. Elected that year, the brave new bumper mayor, Wes Ullman, wanted an arts festival, and the center needed something more substantial than the yearly Easter egg roll on the lawn in front of the Horror Eugene mural. Well, 2 weeks in office, and you get a distressing call from Boeing about the hard times ahead. What do?
Well, simply put, Paul, we needed to have some fun in Seattle. So I was visiting John Lindsay, the mayor of New York, and they had a little arts festival there. I came home and decided we'd have a mayor's arts festival here, and that's how it started.
At the first level, we propose that the center be used day and night, possibly for as long as 2 or 3 weeks, continuously and intensively.
The new mayor appointed radio commentator Irving Clark Jr. to head his festival committee. Seattle Center director Jack Fury added hopeful lines that now seem like the first pages in a bumper book.
There'll be something going on in every corner of the facility. Art, music, things that people can participate in, see, watch, do.
And imagine. Bumbershoot was crowded from the start. Oh, not so crowded as now, but still crowded. Held in mid-August, not Labor Day, Festival 71 was almost like an arts appendage to Seafair and the standard fun and hoopla surrounding its own shows, parades, and races. Actually, an unfair selection from Festival 71 can make it seem like a Seafair event. Besides the hot pants competition, there was another for log rowing, and as Jack Feary notes,
And on Saturday evening, there is a motorcycle race in the Coliseum, believe it or not.
many expected that this Festival of the Arts would be adopted by Seafair, but its mother, Greater Seattle, declined. Now, Festival 71 was primarily selected for arts, including experimental arts.
The big thing is the big inflatable, an inflatable environment being created in that building.
Oh, wow. Slowly, 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 slowly.
And it was designed also for arts and youth, a combination that at least since the 50s has meant rock and roll. Since the outdoor festivals like Sky River were stopped after 1970, like the Bumbershoot Burn, they were thought to be too hot. Still, youth must be served, and so along with arts and briefly hot pants, youth was moved to Seattle Center. What follows is not high-definition television. Neither is it Love Supreme nor Life Everlasting. Rather, Bumper Chronicles is composed often of gritty guerrilla imagery shot by romantic videographers using amusing equipment. We show a lot of short bits. This is a Bumbershoot sampler.
Based in Norman.
Naturally, we also sought and received permission from the proper authorities.
You have the right to film, but you're the only one, all right?
Oh, thank you.
Because otherwise, yeah.
Love it.
Have
Bye.
fun, man. Yeah.
Since its third year, every Bumbershoot has had an umbrella and a shirt, usually a t-shirt. Perennial Bumbershooter Phil Mahoney collects them. Let's see that again.
You go and you get one, and then you go next year. Oh, that looks cool. I'll get that one. Next thing you know, you've got a bunch. And then you say to yourself, I'm going to get one every year.
Yeah, that's satisfying. A poster. Every Bumbershoot has had a poster, and sometimes two of them. Now here's Karen Gates, who was executive secretary of the Seattle Arts Commission in the late 1970s, explaining their role as the posters appear from now to then.
And the poster has become a symbol of the city and the way that we take this weekend off every year to get together as a city and as a people and celebrate the arts and us and a lot of other good things that we all share.
Now here are the posters again as we proceed through the history of the festival from then, 1971, to now, 2001. So we're going from heads to tails, from thumb to mouth, from Stan James to Baby Gramps.
In 1971, I was there. I was at this one. Sang songs. One of them was this one. Got the blues when my baby left me by the San Francisco Bay. Ocean liner carry my blues away.
Well, I was hired as a coordinator for the project and was solely responsible for getting the thing together with the help of David Eubanks, the assistant director.
This particular poster was done by Lance Wallen, who actually was the coordinator for those first two festivals. And the theme basically was something for everybody. And I know the mayor wanted something more than Festival 71, but we didn't know what to call it. So we went 2 years with Festival 71, 72.
I think that our Festival 71 project, which we held here for 3 days 2 weeks ago, which had a variety of activities, proved that you can do this kind of activity on the site.
Were those times fun? Good to see you. And no one ever told us that we had to have insurance for this or that or the other thing. We just did it, right?
I liked the idea because it gave me the freedom to exploit the talent we had in town.
Hey, walking with my baby down beside the San Francisco Bay.
the International Fountain is sort of the heartbeat of the festival, and so we've always had fun playing with what goes on there. It was the site for the first true closing ceremony, the laser show.
In 1972, as the Land Truth Circus, we did our own version of Klaus Oldenburg's giant monumental faucet. His drawing here representing the faucet on Lake Union was the inspiration for the idea. And with the inflatable projects, one of the things that you have going is the size. And in Americana, the bigger the better. And we had a giant light bulb, a giant television set, the universal worm, or just the big tube projects. 3 different versions of the word Bumbershoot with inflatable letters.
Go Bumbershooting, go Bumbershooting, go Bumbershooting, go Bumbershooting, go Bumbershooting, Bumbershoot.
In 1973, I was director of the festival, and it was the first year it got its new name. It was sort of a marketing meeting. We sat around. Lots of names were thrown out. This one was. In the back of my mind, I always wanted a name that would never mean anything else.
Bumbershoot.
Perfect for us.
And then when Lead Pencil took it, it was really sort of amazing what they did with it, because obviously there was an umbrella, there was a rainbow in it, which became sort of the corporate seal for the festival for a long time.
This is the pin. This was one of the first ones made at the market. You can see it's been repaired 1,000 times.
Right, yeah.
And I still wear it because it means so much to me. And we were playing around with the ideas about the rain and the sun and the rainbows, and then we got off into umbrellas and bumbershoots and stuff, and it just kind of happened.
These are your 2 magic Bumbershoots. Stay tightly to them. Their magic must be very powerful for the evil god of weather to want them so badly.
This is the festival's 15th birthday. How about that?
The 1974 festival began with a parade from downtown. Portentously, it included Louise Lovely riding the running board on the one-reel vaudeville show's Model A stage.
In 1974 was the first year I was involved in Bumbershoot. I was booking the artists. It was the first year that many national artists played. Ry Cooder, Stan Getz, Paul Horn, Willie Dixon and Clifton Chenier, a lot of blues, folk, and jazz. It was the year that John Chambliss first became involved. He worked with me on the music and later became director of the festival. And it was really the first year that Bumbershoot rose to national prominence.
She's not just a singer, she is actress and singer. I could compare her to Barbara Streisand, Liza Minnelli, somebody like that.
Like Madonna. Madonna.
She's like Madonna.
Yes.
No, I don't.
No. She's a rock star. Rock star.
So could we have a big Seattle welcome for Miss Alla Pugacheva?
She is
Ну, а публика, ну, просто замечательная. The audience was wonderful. Как русские. Just like Russians.
I have two TV PSAs, the one for Lego, the 5,000 boxes, and the one we did for the festival here, which I can show you now.
Oh, yeah.
Some people can sit here if you'd like. Well, this will take less than 2 minutes.
The Bumbershoot Executive Committee was founded in 1974, with the festival running 10 days that year and visited by more than 300,000. The citizens group was clearly needed to help nurture the festival and watch over its production. Kay Bullitt was the first chairperson, and the mayoral appointed members might serve anywhere from a year to 12 years.
Bumbershoot.
This is the poster for 1975. This was the year that John Chambliss, who had been a professor at the University of Washington, had stepped up to become the director of this Bumbershoot. John worked very, very hard to make this one work.
Alan First, now a best-selling author of thrillers, followed John Chambliss as director in 1976 and 77, and First was followed by Jim Royce. Here in 1978, Royce adds his page to the bumper book.
Bumbershoot is the annual City of Seattle Arts Festival. It's an opportunity for all of the citizens of Seattle, King County, and the state of Washington to gather in one place and experience the arts of our region.
And here, 23 years later, Director of Communications for the Mark Taper Forum in Los Angeles, Royce remembers the joys of programming Bumbershoot.
We had a wonderful dance performance with Merce Cunningham that wouldn't have existed except in a large sort of arena space.
Jacob Lawrence was the Bumbershoot poster artist for the nation's bicentennial year of 1976. When it was being planned in 1971, it was assumed that Seattle's art festival would climax with a great bicentennial celebration at Seattle Center. The Lawrence poster is certainly Bumbershoot, but is it also bicentennial?
It wasn't even celebrated as the bicentennial of Bumbershoot. We just ignored it and went ahead making our artwork. All of the eclectic jumble of whatever Seattle had to offer in the way of young artists. Friends of the Rag, Reese Nemi, Carl Smuel.
What does it mean to place your offerings here?
Well, it means that it's a chance for you to release those demons, and the corollary is also that you can affirm some good thing, but I think it's a good opportunity to get rid of the evil, wicked things.
But anyway, I did the Flying Saucer Wreck. It was such a good feeling that even the gardeners let me dig a hole in their sod. I buried half of the flying saucer in there. It was the first and last time that ever happened. It was a historical incident. Oh, let's see. I did Misty and the Pin Boys. I did the Bovinosaurus con leche just a couple of years ago. I did the Invisible Seattle project.
Along with Claire Colquitt and John Hilding, Carl Schmuel is a Bumbershoot perennial. Among his many contributions are also several shirts, T-shirts. I'm wearing one of them now. And so is Phil Mahoney. In fact, he's wearing my shirt.
In Bumbershoot 1977, our friend Sheila Klein put together an exhibition called Ritual Objects. And the three of us, Bill Ritchie, Carl Chu, and myself, were in the exhibition with a variety of different kinds of objects.
I brought a videotape from 1973 that documents the beginnings of video art in a public place. And it's been a part of Bumbershoot, I guess, till now. You're making a video still.
The video art of Bill Ritchie, Nori Sato, and others at Bumbershoot is evidence of how from its first years the festival nurtured experiment and encouraged participation.
I'm the sort of person that forgets
that people can't tell what I'm thinking. And on here, there's a letter from a town in France where the children's heads were turned into umbrellas. And the name of the mayor of this town is Claude Nounou. Claude Nounou. Charles Royer was the mayor, and he was asked to open Bumbershoot that year. He said, now I'm going to introduce to you the artist who did the poster this year. And he said, Carl Chu, will you please come up? And I got up to the microphone and I said,
Well, just on behalf of Boomberkinder everywhere through the world, I'd like to present this poster to you, Mayor Charles Nounou Royer.
You're never really killing time. Old man time is always killing you. Whoa! The second hand holds still while the hour winds by. I don't know just how long I've been here.
Bumbershoot has always been supportive of the local stand-up comics. This is one of the places that stand-up comics come to live because it's so livable here. And the festival said, wow, let's take advantage of that. There's good comedians here. Let's not just bring in the big acts. You know, they brought in Stephen Wright, the Smothers Brothers, Jerry Seinfeld, those kinds of people, Sandra Bernhard.
I can't believe I'm on stage at 5:30. It's a frightening concept. I'm usually like taking my nap right about now, but I got it together and I'm more beautiful than ever and I'm enjoying it. What was your name again? That's right. Listen, I thought maybe we could play some foosball, or was it? Where are you going? Are you leaving? Well, you. People now are just willing to like breathe a sigh of relief. Bye-bye. Take care. And they're busily buzzing off to their next big Bumbershoot event.
It's called Fat Girl Follies, and it's a 1.5 woman show. And I brought my friends in. This is my 18th Bumbershoot since 1976. This is more of a theater kind of piece as opposed to a stand-up piece, which I've done here most of the time, so I'm kind of nervous.
Christ, she's big, all the people say. 25 stone. And gravel for change.
But I will say that there's a thin line between ignorance and arrogance. I have managed to erase that tonight.
It's not a complete festival without comedy and tragedy.
Since its second year, 1972, classical music has had a part in Bumbershoot, although rarely with large ensembles like the Young Composers Orchestra here and the Seattle Symphony.
'79. I chose the image of a juggler, one of the buskers, which is my favorite part of Bumbershoot always, the people who would just perform as if they were street performers. And the balls in the air are kind of like how it feels to, I'm sure it feels to run Bumbershoot, and it certainly feels like it when you're there trying to see everything at the same time.
It's all right, how about that? Thank you. The leapfrog of death.
1980, so we've been doing this, this is our 8th year, or 9th year, doing Bumbershoot, and we love it every year.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun, a lot of people, a lot of good crowds.
You're great.
Thanks, man. I want 10%.
It's really wonderful.
Good show.
Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go.
That tradition of busking or street theater that seems to have gone back to the Middle Ages, and I'm sure before that, I always get this incredibly timeless feeling about it. Wonderful entertainment, and it's free, and it's spontaneous, and that's what I always look for.
1980 was the year that Bumbershoot started charging admission, and this was a very contentious issue with a lot of people in the community.
Well, you know, the gate is really the solution. The question was, how are we going to pay for Bumbershoot?
We were running at a deficit. The festival almost died.
There's litter, there's trash, there's the upkeep of the center, there's security, there's law enforcement, there's all the staff. And with it was another appetite, really, which was the quality and the level of performance.
Yes, 1981 was especially memorable to me because it was the second year that One Reel produced Bumbershoot, but it was the 13th year that it produced the One Reel Vaudeville Show, which was the touring production that was the beginning of the company. And that year, 1981, we did a production entitled Step Right Up, and I was the producer and a performer, and that was primarily my role in that year's event. However, after that year, I became known as the Contessa Deluxe of Bumbershoot and all One Reel productions, and became actively involved in visual, literary arts, and all things dealing with beauty and light.
Taxi to the railway station. Turbulation, agitation, people pushing, people crushing, everybody always rushing.
I was the artist for the Bumbershoot poster in 1982. I've lived in Seattle since 1960. It was a great honor, actually. But what I remember most was at the autograph party having Ernestine Anderson ask me for my autograph, and I nearly fainted.
I'm on my way to see Tito Puente. Bon, enchanté, hein? Ciao, hein? Ciao.
Like theater, film, dance, and rock and roll, jazz has been part of Bumbershoot since the beginning.
And in 1983, we did the first novel ever written by an entire city, the novel of Seattle by Seattle, composed on the world's first literary computer, Scheherazade 2.
I don't know how many films I've shown, but in '83 I showed Catharsis. Look at the film. I have shown films at Bumbershoot a trillion times now. I own Bumbershoot. Look at the film.
In the mid-1970s, Ken Levine was also the director of a film program that we discover in the Seattle Arts Commission archives, began at the beginning with Festival 71. In 1995, the program was revived and renamed appropriately the One Reel Film Festival after the Bumbershoot producer.
'84 was the year that my second Bumbershoot art exhibition occurred. It was called Size, and it was giant-size paintings. The year before, 1983, we'd had the first Bumber Biennale with 150 artists, 3 separate exhibitions. It was a lot of work. I thought, well, how can I simplify that? And so 8 artists did giant-size paintings that filled the entire Rainier room. It was a lot of fun and seen by over 30,000 people.
The arts are at the core of our culture. I think that's where our souls and our hearts and our minds speak, and where the fun is and the juice is right where the arts live. And Bumbershoot gathers artists from near and far and stirs the pot and makes wonderful things happen that enliven and enlighten us all here.
The show is called Villa Velour, and it's about the history of the father of modern black velvet painting, named Edgar Leeteg. This is his story and a collection of paintings that he did in the late 30s that wound up in a bar in Hollywood for 20 years, and then in the basement of a Mormon university for another 15 years, and then we found him.
Everything going on in the grounds is like kind of living art. And whether it's part performance art or temporary sculpture installations, it stretches people's ideas of what art can be and how it can affect us in so many different ways and entertain us. That's the important thing about Bumbershoot. Without sugarcoating things like the visual arts or the fine arts, you make them accessible to people in a completely non-threatening environment. They love it.
(1985), the year of Bumber Wars.
Well, I was sort of the eye of the hurricane at that time.
So all of a sudden, Bumbershoot looked like a cash cow to some promoters in town who were doing a lot of rock concerts. And so they suddenly started applying to produce the festival in addition to One Reel.
Joyce was a great activist. Her nickname was Mad Dog Modi. And you just couldn't stop her when she feels like injustice was being made.
The wave of compassion and supporters that rose up around us pushed us back into that event.
We urge you to return the producership of Bumbershoot back to One Reel Vaudeville Show, our excellent producer colleagues.
We feel that the Seattle Center's present plan would threaten the participatory nature of this unique Northwest celebration of the arts.
Bumper chronicler Gene Sherrard played a part in the hearings.
I stood up and testified in front of the city council. And I said, without the artists, Bumbershoot is a broken umbrella.
My wife was reminding me at the time that I was actually at that very moment complaining about how I was never going to ever get a break. And the phone rang, and I got the gig to do this poster. I said, what am I going to do? And she said, well, make it festive, you know, like maybe a South American festival or something, which is how I think of Bumbershoot. It's just as sort of, can be just sort of this crazy, zany collage of people just kind of bumping up against each other with the dogs and the weird people and it's a carnival.
Faces in the Crowd by Roy DeForest. It reminds me of Bumbershoot. It's like a celebration. It's diverse. Everyone, I wish I had a nickel for every dog on a leash I've seen this weekend.
You know, I don't really remember all that well. My brain goes back, but I can hardly tell. It was 1986. 1986 was the year I played the Opera House. I like to play for people wherever I can find them if I can gather an audience. I'm there, yeah, I do busking on the ground with the Spoon Man.
This is 1987, the Bumbershoot poster. My idea for this image was to be in a kind of outer space, looking down at the state of Washington, so there's Puget Sound and the Columbia River, and to zero in with a big O and an X for the site of where Bumbershoot was going to be, where all this action, all this wonderful entertainment was going to happen once a year here in Seattle.
You know, we call that Bongo Love Fest. That's the spontaneous drumming that just happens. So while we think we capture it with Bumber Drum and with Rhythm Equator, we really have no control over it.
Drums is a tool for unity. The community itself is being drum educated. And we've got a lot of good facilitators here that are volunteering their skills. So we have drum circles all day long.
Bumber Drum was a highlight for me. In 1988, Norm Langell asked me to help create this percussion festival of world musicians, and it was really amazing in the Opera House that year. Pure magic.
Whether the mattress of sound of this festival plays for one like joyful polyphony or maddening cacophony, it is the drums of Bumbershoot, especially those on the grounds, that keep it going.
In
1988, we were following the usual practice of having the Seattle Arts Commission 1% for Art program select our poster. We caused a bit of a stir, I guess I would say, by saying that we didn't want to actually use the piece of art that was selected. So we went out and chose our own. I think that people in this organization are committed to a wide variety of art experiences, and people have particularly strong interests in certain areas. I'm, a former dancer, so to me, having dance at the festival is really important.
Flying through the air, they're hanging off the needle. Project Bandaloop, the Space Needle dancers. And they came once and they danced off the Space Needle and it was incredible. Then we had them back last year and they did a different kind of a project off the Space Needle. That was in 2000. And now in 2001 they're doing a dissension piece off the front truss of the stadium, as well as a more traditional dance piece at Bagley Wright Theater.
Well, in '89, my band got to play in Bumbershoot. And we were really excited about it because all the local bands in Seattle wanted to play Bumbershoot, and if you got picked, you were really happy about it. And the same year, we won a National Best Unsigned Band in America contest, and so we were kind of riding high that year. And my then not even boyfriend, now my husband and the father of my child, Scott, announced us.
Cabin Day. I was a disc jockey.
Capping Day, Junior Cadillac, the Dynamic Logs, Red Dress, and here, the Walkabouts are a few of the hundreds of local bands that have played Bumbershoot.
In 1990, the Psychedelic Furs were there, Fats Domino, Zakir Hussain, Ry Cooter, David Lindley, Bookman Experience, and many other incredible performers.
Jared, to look for him. Never mind, I've got it.
BASE is the communications center, the hub of the grounds, where all the radios, there's about 400 radios that are used on 16 different channels.
Based in Norman, we have a team of about 16 people on grounds right now, not including the people who are assigned medically just to hang out in the mosh pit in the stadium.
Would you please welcome to the bandstand all the way from the south side of Chicago, Feller Genuine Draft and Alligator recording artist, the one and only Lonnie!
You're just marrying her for spite. If she knew the inside story, she'd tell you what you're doing just ain't right.
She's an incredible performer, and just really turned the audience on, and everybody was with her the whole time. Even the people that didn't even know who the hell she was.
And we will get together, hey, everything
gonna be all right.
Somebody needed to manage the food area up and down the Key Arena roadway, and also the crafts area that was in the courtyard. And so I sure would love to do that, and that's been a lot of fun. It's pretty much locally done crafts that are on that covered walkway between, along over to the east of the International Fountain. And then in the northwest courtyard area, that tends to be a lot of it's imported things. And then, of course, talking and getting to know the food people and being offered food every time you go by their booths. I always put on several pounds at Bumbershoot.
One day, over 1,000 plates, more than 3,000 for a weekend.
They have real vegetarian food finally. The Australian guy. Yes. Oh.
Calzone's the key to good karma. Don't leave life without one.
Gloomy Sunday, with shadows I spend it all.
In 1992, which was the quincentennial year of Columbus's trip to America, we had a celebration of the Americas in literary arts.
Right.
Sank another letter in there.
Tom Parsons started the book fair.
When we opened the door for the book fair, the energies came in and did it. People did their show. We needed to open the door and let the ideas flow in from the bottom somehow. Let the people that have been anxious to be part of it do it. I sold the Helix when I was a kid.
Read it for you. This Walt Whitman passage out of the first edition preface to Leaves of Grass was advice about this is what you shall do. Love the earth and sun and the animals. Despise riches. Give alms to everyone that asks. Stand up for the stupid and crazy.
If you want to hear the scuttlebutt, what people say about Bumbershoot is it used to be a Seattle arts festival.
I mean, I like the old ones, which were small. They were very intimate. It was sort of like a municipal family picnic.
Actually, we schedule our vacation each year, so the Bumbershoot appears at the end of our vacation. You know, I'm a poet. I don't have to talk like everybody else. I don't have to speak American. Americans have to learn how to understand me. You know, they have to learn how to understand their poetry. They're a couple of 100 years behind. They don't even understand Whitman, you know.
Devote your income and labors to others. Have patience and indulgence toward the people. Take off your hat to nothing.
The 1999 award for most significant contribution by a press or individual. And the Poem of the World is an independent poetry project.
Ergo, the Bumbershoot Literary Arts magazine was first published in 1986. Each year, Ergo published writing from all of the writers who were in literary arts that year.
Go freely with powerful, uneducated persons. Read these leaves in the open air every season of every year of your life.
In 1978, the planning of literary arts became an open process for anyone, most of them writers, of course, interested in improving the performance and participation of the word in the festival. The results were surprising.
So some of the stuff that's now being done and called slam poetry and stuff was invented on the floor at that meeting here in Seattle.
And they bleach their skin and tan every other day.
The 1999 Bumper Bout was a kind of slam.
And I'm just here to see a really good vocal bout.
And who do you think's going to win tonight?
Oh, Quadrescu first. Well, I'm not going to say for sure. I'm going to root for Quadrescu, though.
The best dressed and two-time world heavyweight champion poet, Victor, the Mambo magician,
Two careless lovers are worth 1,000 bankers.
The pants and the skirt
and the road that leads to the river illuminated. Poetry wins!
And your very flesh shall be a great poem, and have the richest fluency not only in its words, but in the silent lines of its lips and face.
And between the lashes of your eyes, and in every motion and joint of your body. Walt Whitman.
The book fair will be closing for 1 year in 10 minutes.
This is the 1993 Bumbershoot poster, and it was selected through the Seattle Arts Commission. I don't like crowds, so I've never gone.
I think it's really crowded. Glenn's been thinking about birth control. I mean, not that he needs birth control, but he thinks there should be a birth control booth. We thought maybe nobody else would be here. Because, as you know, we think we're the most important people on the face of the planet.
You are.
I know.
Coming through. Excuse me. High load. Coming through.
Okay, let me explain. I don't like a contained crowd. Let's put it that way.
All the way down. Let's go.
94 changed everything. It was the first year that we had really lost money on the festival. In 93 we lost a tiny bit of money, and 94 put it into perspective. We had 2 of 4 days of rain and clouds the whole time, and when Monday came we had lost about $400,000.
It seems that it rains every Bumbershoot. That's the name of the festival, but we have to be a little concerned about the fact that for the last 5 years, I believe, it's rained at least part of Bumbershoot, and that just hurts attendance. It sort of dampens people's spirit to come outside.
Well, I like to think of it as the mother of all parties. Most of the people who come to the festival tell me that their most memorable moments don't happen when they're looking at the headliners. They happen at these odd moments where they run into somebody, or they get caught up in a parade, or they see something that they just had no idea even existed, much less went to go see.
In 95, kind of all points were pointing at the programming department. And we sat around and we made a gazillion offers. One of the shows that ended up coming out of that long, arduous task was an inspired pairing of Mel Torme opening for Mudhoney.
Hey man, this is another Bumbershoot party for me. You better get out the way.
Honey, I woke up this morning,
desire.
Well, I get up in the morning, kick the covers on my bed, the sunlight in my eyes, laying chips in my
head. Especially since the introduction of the gate in 1980, it is these so-called headliners that support the mix of Bumbershoot.
But one of the things that was really, really exciting about 1995 was the Jimi Hendrix electric guitar experience. It was not only was it a stage show on the main stage on Monday, but we also created an installation called Red House, which was really cool. It was a kind of a museum experience of all kinds of Hendrix artifacts.
In 1996, I was doing sponsorship for Bumbershoot, and it was a fantastic year. We had things like Ani DeFranco and Project Bandaloop and the Ballet Trocadero. What else, Terry?
We had presidents of the United States of America.
Presidents kicked ass in the stadium. Crowds were going crazy, surfing. Mosh pit was, electrified.
Bumbershoot, thank you.
Bumbershoot rocks! And the fact that there are no grants available to arts festivals, sponsors are our lifeblood.
Sponsorship efforts account for about 1/3 of the budget. So it offsets the tremendous costs and allows the ticket price to remain low and very affordable for families to see the festival.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere at
Children's
Bumbershoot.
are everywhere.
And they get in free
And they
to
do
Bumbershoot, courtesy of a sponsor usually every year. And there's amazing hands-on activities all over the grounds for them.
Kill the wicked witch of the east side!
Definitely plan your day.
Space Needle. This part here is the restaurant part, and here's the top part there.
This is the height of my artistic abilities. It doesn't get any better than this.
1997 to me will always be the most special year for me because it was my first year and it was probably the biggest explosion of humanity I could have ever imagined in my life.
It seems like I always think of Bumbershoot like a beehive and all the bees flying in from all over the place.
Coming from the East Coast, nothing like Bumbershoot I've ever seen.
People coming from far away to perform, and then inside the tree I put all the other stuff because Bumbershoot always feels sort of crammed with activities. People and musicians and umbrellas and animals and stuff all sort of crowded in there. Because it just always seems like a lot's happening at once there.
Here he is. Ghost Rider. He mutates into Johnny Blaze. That's me. We're gonna be burning.
Some cars will win because they got aerodynamics. You know, the wind just goes right by them, and some of them you get a big heavy guy in a heavy car, and it doesn't matter.
The action never seems to stop.
There they go. They're off.
Get set.
The screaming skull is coming down late, but it's on fire. It might not make it anyhow.
And the winner, the Screaming Skull with Johnny Blaze.
Perhaps inevitably, the Bumbershoot grounds became too crowded for the Bumper Nationals and they were stopped. Their 1998 revival in the confines of the Key Arena was upsetting to some.
In 1998, it was actually my first time to go and see Bumbershoot. And there I saw the Circus Ethiopia. And I thought that was really neat because they had a ton of different body sculptures where they stand on each other's heads. And actually there, they had classes after the show, which I learned how to juggle.
With its mix of crowds, exotic sounds, and smells, the festival itself can be a circus, and the festival producer, One Reel Style, beginning in the days of the traveling stage, has always suggested the circus.
Well, Well, in 1999, they finally let me do the poster after many years of begging. So I started thinking about Bumbershoot and kind of what it meant to me and where it was. So I thought, well, the Space Needle, that shape has to be in there somewhere. And also, Bumbershoot meaning umbrella, I thought the shape of an umbrella had to be in there as well. So I came up with the idea of an exploding flower. I just thought that Bumbershoot was sort of an explosion of music, art, and people just enjoying themselves.
The year 2000 was the 30th anniversary of Bumbershoot, of course, and it was also for BumberChronicles the opportunity to actually go out and shoot an entire festival with this volunteer crew.
I did a little numbers yesterday, and I figured out how many people have showed up in the last 30 years, and it's 4.7 million people have come to Bumbershoot in the last 30 years.
Now you may kiss. Oh no!
I haven't missed a single Bumbershoot. I've been Bumbershooting for years.
All that for only $2.50 a day? All right.
Bumbershoot's great. It's still fun. And in that same time, I also figured out we've only lost $3,151 doing it.
Here it is, hot off the presses, the Bumbershoot 2001 poster. It does everything we hoped it would. It bounces, it pops, it's fun, it even says fun twice right on the poster, so people know Bumbershoot is, as we said first in 1971, fun for everyone.
Bumbershoot. Oh, Bumbershoot. I remember how it made you feel. Sometimes it would rain. Usually it'd be clear. I look forward to that thing all year. Now the first Bumbershoot, if I remember well, was really small. Now who can tell it so many years ago, sped back in the memory? See if I can
In 1973, I was at the first Bumbershoot that was called Bumbershoot, and I was carrying Zach. And this is a picture of us then.
That's me.
This is us now. Okay, don't drop me.
They say, where are you going this year? Guy looks down at his boot, says, well, I'm going to America. I'm going to play Bumbershoot.
We worship Bumbershoot.
Worship.
We wouldn't change a thing, except maybe one little item. We'd make it smoke-free. Other than that, we wouldn't change
Well,
it.
I wouldn't make it smoke-free.
3,000 people, man, I could look them all right in the eye. I had me 2 microphones, one for my voice and one for my guitar.
I would have a smoking areas.
A pit. They could dig a large pit.
Bumbershoot.
I'm predicting another 30 years.
Fine sight
No
to see.
rain, only happy.
Bumbershoot. Hope nothing ever comes between them and me.